Okay, I was actually going to start in another 15 minutes, but there's just way too much news, and I want to get to phone calls, and I want to get to all sorts of stuff. So I'm just going to get going. The theme of this stream, and I'm sorry I didn't stream at all last week on YouTube or Twitch. It was a crazy week. I was doing the show remotely, and it was just wacky, wacky, wacky. But here I am. The theme of this stream is impeachment is starting against President Donald Trump. We've been wondering, we've been going back and forth, but for a very long time. But indeed, it is time. Nancy Pelosi has announced a formal impeachment inquiry of Donald Trump. It's happening, and we have to talk about the goals. We have to talk about what would constitute a successful impeachment, because it's not going to be removing Donald Trump from office, that's for sure. But it is indeed happening, and things are going to get very, very crazy very, very quickly. I first will just talk about what's going on. You can communicate with me, ask questions using Super Chat at the bottom of the chat window, that $sign. If we get 10 website members, I will open up the phone lines and look forward to hearing from you. And if we get 20 website members, as it says up there, I will commit right here and now to doing another stream tomorrow. So if you've been living under a rock or not paying attention to the news for the last 2 years, which actually sounds kind of nice in a way, it sounds refreshing, there has been an ongoing conversation about whether or not Democrats are going to start impeachment proceedings against President Donald Trump. And Nancy Pelosi has announced today that indeed a formal impeachment inquiry of Trump will begin. Now, it's important to understand before we look at the New York Times article, and I have a Reuters article as well that I want to look at with you, before we even get into this stuff, it's extraordinarily important to understand that this is a three-step process. The decision that has been made so far is merely to start an impeachment inquiry. The next step after such an inquiry would be to decide whether the House wants to move on to actually making the case for impeachment of Donald Trump. The House makes the case, and then step 3 would be the Senate voting on whether to convict Donald Trump or not. And of course, we have a Republican Senate, and they are not going to convict Donald Trump. They have actually shown that they are brazenly and willfully going to stand behind this president to a great extent, with some exceptions. You know, Justin Amash and the Arizona Senator Flake left. But basically, this is not even a technique that should be measured on the basis of whether it removes Donald Trump before the November of 2020 election, because it will not, okay? So here is how I will evaluate the success of this impeachment inquiry. And Democrats actually need to be very, very careful about this, because this could completely backfire on them. The point of this impeachment inquiry, from my perspective, is to get damaging information about Donald Trump out into the public so that the November of 2020 election will not go to Donald Trump. I don't see any path for the actual removal via impeachment of Donald Trump before November of 2020, because Democrats don't control the Senate. And as a result, there is a lot here that Nancy Pelosi is going to have to manage. Namely, is this going to be turned around on Democrats by Donald Trump as yet another partisan witch hunt, just like the Russia probe? Because he already laid the groundwork for it by saying that this new Biden thing is another witch hunt because Democrats failed on Russia, so now they're trying Ukraine. And the real risk here is that it completely backfires on Democrats. It allows Donald Trump to paint himself as the martyr, as the victim, and he is an expert at doing that. And he must not be allowed to do that. And that is why this is the right move in the sense of politically, on the basis of what Donald Trump has done. How was this the tipping point? How have we come so far and we're only now getting to an impeachment inquiry? But at the same time, it could easily backfire on Democrats. And I'm curious to see, actually, I'm already seeing some super chats on screen, including one from Clayton. Can people see the super chat okay? If not, I can make that bigger on screen. I don't normally, let's see, I'll make it just a little bit bigger. Let me know if that's tough to read, because I am going to be getting to these super chats for sure. Anybody? Oh, the chat is very, very much delayed. That's weird. I've never seen the chat this delayed. Oh, you can click on Super Chat to read it yourselves. That's right. Yeah, okay. Very good. Okay, so I won't be worried about that. All right, excellent. So let's get into the news that has broken here. I do want to say thanks to Matt Holodak. Matt Holodak has just signed up for a membership on my website. So that is new member number 1 of the evening. As I mentioned, if we get 10 new members, I'll open phone lines and hear from you fine folks. And if we get 20 new members, I will guarantee to stream tomorrow. More incentive to stream. Okay, so let's look at the New York Times report. Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced today that the House will begin a formal impeachment inquiry of President Trump, saying that he had betrayed his oath of office and the nation's security in seeking to enlist a foreign power for his own political gain. Now, already, the reality is that even if you forget about the entire, I'm not going to get derailed here. I'm not. But if you just ignore everything Russia related, even just on Trump's support for the Saudi war on Yemen, he was already impeachable. Arguably for financial misdeeds, Trump was already impeachable. So already, I understand that you have to make this about, I guess you have to make it about one thing, but maybe you don't, because there's much more actually that you could impeach Donald Trump over. Okay. Quote from Nancy Pelosi after emerging from a meeting of House Democrats: "The actions taken to date by the president have seriously violated the Constitution, and Trump must be held accountable. No one is above the law." The announcement was a stunning development that unfolded after months of caution by House Democrats, who have been divided over using the ultimate remedy to address what they have called flagrant misconduct by the president. It had the potential to reshape Mr. Trump's presidency and to cleave an already divided nation only a year before he plans to stand for re-election. In this case, with an avalanche of Democrats, including many who had resisted the move, now demanding it, Ms. Pelosi said Mr. Trump's reported actions and his administration's refusal to share details about the matter with Congress have left the House no alternative outside of impeachment. Listen, I've said for months now, impeach or don't impeach, or impeachment inquiry or no impeachment inquiry, I can understand both. I can understand that at this point, obviously there is more than enough justification for an impeachment inquiry. I can also understand saying it's not going to remove him before the election. Let's just forget about it and focus our energy on just simply defeating Donald Trump without the inquiry. But this is a very important perspective, which is the House really has no alternative here. The right move, the obvious move for the body that is supposed to hold the president accountable, is to do an impeachment inquiry. We're not saying move to impeach. We're not saying vote in the Senate to convict on impeachment. It's an abundantly clear case that can be made for it's time for the inquiry, and that's all that's starting right here. By the way, what are people talking about? Clickbait? The impeachment inquiry is starting. Nancy Pelosi has announced that there is a formal impeachment inquiry of Donald Trump. This is step 1 of 3 of an impeachment. I don't know if calling things clickbait is genuinely like the most milquetoast, flaccid criticism that I've ever seen. I had a debate once with a gentleman named Carl Benjamin about it. Some of you may know him as Sargon of Akkad about it. Google, search on my YouTube channel for the Sargon clickbait debate, and you will see it as just a lame criticism. Ewan Marwick, I want to say thank you to Ewan Marwick, who is the second new member of the evening. That is 2 out of 10. We're 20% of the way to me opening up the phone lines, and we are 10% of the way to me committing to do a live stream tomorrow as well. Let's continue. At issue are allegations that Mr. Trump pressured the president of Ukraine to open a corruption investigation of former Vice President Joe Biden, a contender for the Democratic nomination, and his son. The conversation is said to be part of a whistleblower complaint that the Trump administration has withheld from Congress. Trump said today that he would authorize the release of a transcript of the conversation. He's called it perfect, etc., etc. So listen, there's so much distraction going on here that we've got to deal with this. Number one, the conspiracy theory about Joe Biden is laughable. And I've got a video that's going up on YouTube at, let me see what time this is happening at. By the way, YouTube analytics seem totally broken. I don't know if anything's broken on the public-facing side. I have a video going up at 7:30 in a couple of hours in detail debunking this stupid conspiracy theory about Joe Biden. The allegation is Joe Biden's son worked for a Ukrainian gas company. The gas company was being investigated, so Biden willy-nilly flies to Kiev and tries to get the chief prosecutor of Ukraine fired for investigating his son. The truth is, this was a chief prosecutor in Ukraine that was under investigation for corruption by multiple countries long before Joe Biden got involved. Multiple countries had already requested the dismissal of that chief prosecutor, and Biden ended up being appointed point man by Barack Obama relatively late in the game. And the conspiracy theory is absolutely and completely laughable. So that's number one. Number two, the quote real story here with all of the Ukraine thing, the important stories are not the context of this transcript that Donald Trump now is going to be releasing, which could be incomplete. We know the White House doctors' transcripts. It could be a transcript that only understanding prior conversations with Ukraine would we understand the quid pro quo that is being discussed. The transcript is not the issue. There are two issues here and only two issues. Number one, Donald Trump holding hostage hundreds of millions of dollars of military aid to a country if and until they smear Joe Biden to help Trump win in 2020, under the presumption that Biden will be the nominee, and that is not a guarantee at this point in time. And number two, that the whistleblower is still being suppressed. Okay, that has taken a drastic backseat here. And yesterday on the program, and I see the super chats coming in, folks, and I'm going to get to them next. And there's many of them. I said yesterday, it's possible that the reason that the White House is copping to some of these allegations is that they've calculated that something else would be far worse for them. And what that something else may well be is the whistleblower getting to talk, because at the heart of this is the suppression of a whistleblower. Those are the two primary things at issue here, okay? Let me say thanks to Santu Kakanen, who is the third new member of the evening. That gets us to 3 out of 10 to open up the phone lines, and that gets us to 3 out of 20 to get a commitment from me to do another stream tomorrow. If you don't want me to stream tomorrow, definitely don't sign up. The info is right there. Oh, and actually, the website is not totally visible. Let me shrink that a little bit. There we go. Hopefully that's easier to see. Joinpacman.com is the website. All right, let me look at some of these super chats and see what's on people's minds. Alex Saavedra with a $1.99 super chat. What will it take for Republicans to on this issue of Trump? They're not going to, period. And I would not hold my breath for it. Clayton Sackett with a $5 super chat. Do you believe this would delegitimize the Democrats if this effort to impeach fails? So the answer is yes, but what would we define as a success? And what I mean by that is this impeachment effort, this impeachment inquiry, is not going to remove Donald Trump from the presidency. The goal of this impeachment inquiry should be, in my mind, to generate news that will be in the corporate news cycle to inform the public about what Trump has done. And the idea would be that that would get people to reconsider a vote for Trump in 2020, or it would get people who already don't like the guy but weren't planning to vote to get out and vote. If the entire impeachment inquiry is successfully rebranded by Donald Trump as a witch hunt, as you didn't get me on Russia, so you're going to try to get me on Ukraine. If Trump makes himself the martyr, if Democrats misplay it, it will be devastating for Democrats. There's no other way to say it. There's no other, what would I call it? There's no other relevant analysis other than this could deeply, deeply backfire on Democrats. So absolutely. We just need to have the proper expectations, which are not that this is going to remove Donald Trump sooner than we could vote him out. Next super chat is from Drewy123, 20 Swedish kroner. Pacman for president. Maybe in Argentina, but not here. I wasn't born in the U.S., so I cannot be president. Jimmy from Philly, $2 super chat. Jimmy, it's been so long since I've heard from you. I hope you're not drunk. Impeach Trump, Dems are morons. Can you say backfire? Listen, here's the thing. Jimmy is an angry, I'm looking for adjectives, but I don't want to go overboard. Jimmy is an extraordinarily angry and often misinformed Trumpist. But Jimmy has done two things that I agree with. Jimmy is a paid member of the David Pakman Show, okay? A Trumpist is a paid member of the show. So that's just a sign that if you actually like what I do, Jimmy doesn't even like it and he supports it financially. If you actually like what I do, please consider becoming a member. The info is over there. But you're right, Jimmy. This well could backfire, even though I think it's completely justified. And Democrats need to be careful. Brian Stevens, what is the probability impeachment occurs? Okay, so I'm sensing that folks are already confused by this, and this is a problem that I've been trying to address. This is a 3-step process, okay? The 3 steps are, number 1, impeachment probe, impeachment inquiry. This is merely to figure out what has taken place and get the information out. Then Democrats could say, we are arguing for impeachment. And there would be a sort of trial by the House. And step 3 would be the Senate voting on whether to remove Trump or not. That last step is not going to happen. Not as long as Democrats don't control the Senate. Democrats don't control the Senate now. Democrats are not going to take over control of the Senate in 2020. The numbers just don't favor Democrats. Carlos Enriquez, hey, David, could this backfire on Republican swing votes in 2020, with his 80+% approval rating and all? Getting a lot of questions about this. This could backfire, and I hope Nancy Pelosi manages it correctly. Let me say thanks to David. I don't know if the last name is pronounced Rayo, David Rolt. David is definitely the first name. David is new member number 4 of the evening. That gets us 40% of the way to opening the phone lines and 20% of the way to me doing another live stream tomorrow. I invite you to support this channel. YouTube, by the way, if you saw my video yesterday, YouTube now has formalized the ways in which they are screwing independent news and politics producers like me. So we are effectively having to write off YouTube revenue as a reliable source of revenue for what we do. So we're increasingly relying on website memberships. JoinPakman.com is the place to sign up. I promise it's painless, and there's a coupon code there that'll save you money, and I'll say your name, and I will also potentially take some phone calls. So sign up, and I'll keep saying hello to people. Gregory Magershack with a $20 super chat, the high watermark for the evening. Gregory says, impeachment is small beans compared to deploying troops to Saudi Arabia. I feel sorry for the Persian people. Unless they remove Ayatollah's regime, I am worried that a war will begin before 2020 and destroy the entire region. I'm not quite as hyperbolically pessimistic as you, Gregory, but I was doing everything. I was imploring corporate media yesterday to cover the troops deployed to Saudi Arabia more than they have, because it is a major story. Horror fan for life. Whoa, they just shot down. Let me see here. Let me go. Horror fan for life. Great to hear this profound and beautiful news. Yeah. Billy Vanilli. Are Democrats overanalyzing the situation? What if it backfires? Republicans impeached over a BJ and Bush still won. Put some light on his crimes. I'm guessing you mean Clinton, right? Or Bush won after Clinton served 2 terms. Not sure I understand that. Cat Purple, you should talk to Kyle on Secular Talk then, because he isn't laughing and has a much clearer take on it. I don't know what you mean, laughing about what? I'm not sure I know what you mean. Christopher Bartram, isn't there a small chance Republicans in the Senate will want to be on the right side of history in the face of overwhelming evidence? No. I mean, okay, listen. There is always a chance. There's a non-zero chance that Republicans might say we are going to vote to convict and remove Trump. But it's very close to zero. They've proven that. Still Dubel says, Dubel, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. $8 super chat. Thanks for everything you do, David. That was a fine looking pepper too. Yeah, if you don't follow me on Instagram, there is a 13-second video. That's it. It's 13 seconds out of your day. I'm David.Pakman on Instagram. Of me picking, I'm looking at it now, I'm picking my first pepper from my pepper plant of the entire season. I know it's almost October. and I try the pepper on the video. And I didn't even notice this because I'm so used to it, but at my house, there are constant birds screeching in the background. You can barely even hear what I'm saying over the screeching birds, and I'm so numb to it because I'm so used to it, I didn't even notice it. And a bunch of people in the comments point out that, like, do I have a hawk or something, or am I in an aviary? Is that what it's called? In any case, that's my latest post on Instagram at david.pacman. And there, I have a second pepper I will be harvesting tomorrow as well. Dan of Earth says, do you think impeachment hearings will negatively impact Trump or embolden his base even more? Yeah, that's the question. And as I said, if Donald Trump can turn impeachment around into, oh, poor Trump, it's a witch hunt, I'm the victim, nobody, presidential harassment, all that stuff. And in fact, I kind of want to pull up Donald Trump's, let's see, real Donald Trump. Let's look at Donald Trump's Twitter page just to see if he's tweeted anything. 15 minutes. Pompeo has permission to release the transcript. Presidential harassment 1 hour ago. They never even saw the transcript of the call, a total witch hunt. Pelosi, Nadler, Schiff, and of course Maxine Waters. Okay, yeah, so he's going witch hunt. All right, very, very clear. Trump is just going witch hunt, fully going witch hunt there. So that's what's going to go on, and that may actually work. Let me thank just a couple of more people here. San Juanita Reyes, or as non-Argentinians would say, Reyes. And Nick Slabah, or Slaboff, I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced. 2 new members, that gets us to 6 out of 10 on the website. And that gets us to 6 out of 20 for me doing a stream tomorrow. Or apologies. We're 60% of the way to opening the phone lines and 30% of the way to me committing to doing another stream tomorrow. Thong Ta with a 5 Canadian dollar super chat saying this is a test. It's a successful one. I would consider it for sure. Car Wash Freak 97 sends a 99-cent super chat with no question or comment. Kaylee Brackens, what makes you think the Dems will actually go through with anything around impeachment? Sorry, I joined late. Well, it's been announced, Kaylee. So Nancy Pelosi has ordered an impeachment probe, okay? So the inquiry is starting formally. The question, which maybe you're asking, is whether Democrats will go through with actually recommending impeachment and doing the impeachment trial. But the inquiry is happening. SCBI with a €10 super chat. Hi, Kyle Kulinski said the story about Biden is true and Democrats are hypocrites because also Hilly went to other countries to find stuff on Trump. Do you agree? I don't know. I have to see what you're talking about. AJ Gray. Hi, David. How far can Trump go to undermine the Democrats even during an impeachment inquiry? Very far. And this is a concern. This is completely a concern. Dahang G, what are your thoughts on Yang at 8% nationally? All right, I will briefly take a break from impeachment stuff to look at that. I did not see Yang at 8%. Let's see here. Yang Emerson. Oh, okay, very interesting. Okay, hold on. I just got some kind of ad here. Emerson poll has Yang at 8 nationally. So listen, I think the same thing about Yang at 8 nationally that I think about. It's funny, I looked at just Biden, Warren, Sanders in this poll earlier, and I thought that the numbers didn't look right. So even without seeing Yang at 8, I already was skeptical of this poll. I simply don't believe that there is a statistical three-way tie right now between Biden, Warren, and Sanders. This is by far the lowest that Biden has polled in any poll. And remember, I'm not voting for Biden in the primary. I'm a progressive. Period, okay? This is not anything other than me reading this. I don't buy that Biden has dropped this much, and I don't think that Warren and Sanders are statistically tied. So in the same way, I have trouble believing that Yang is really at 8 nationally, but if 2 more polls come out and they have similar numbers, then I will have no choice but to consider it at least potentially valid. Orsa Moldauer sends $1.99. Thank you. G916, if the House votes yes, could Mitch prevent any vote/discussion, or would Senate be forced to vote yay or nay? I believe that if the House, it's not the House voting yes. If the House brings charges, I believe that the Senate has to vote on them. That's what what I think is the situation. Brandon Getter asks, does impeaching a president stop them from being elected again? If not, then what does impeachment actually do besides raise awareness of the crime? So again, understand, all we have is an impeachment inquiry. That's all. An impeachment inquiry does not prevent a president from being reelected. If we get to impeachment charges, those would also not prevent a president from being reelected. If Donald Trump is impeached and convicted by the Senate and removed, my understanding is he would not be eligible for reelection. Nick S. Backfire is a Republican talking point. Does the law not matter? No, it does matter, Nick. And in fact, what I'm pointing out is I believe that there were viable Democratic strategies for removing Trump in 2020 that included an impeachment inquiry and that did not. My only concern, the backfire I'm talking about is not a backfire because there's anything unwarranted about the inquiry. The only backfire I'm talking about is establishment Democrats are great at just self-destructing. And I am not convinced that they are going to manage this in a way that it does not backfire. Zachary Anderson and Christopher Taylor have become new YouTube members, which I appreciate. Eddie X. Gee, can we still get Pelosi out in 2020? Yeah, listen, if she leads an impeachment inquiry that helps to get Donald Trump out in 2020, my sense is she's going to be in 2020. Okay, let me say thanks to a couple of other people here. Members are just flying in. Let me see here. Okay, so I said thanks to Nick already. Aiden McCallion, thank you for being a new David Pakman Show member. I appreciate it. William Blankley, thank you for being a new David Pakman Show member. Melissa Jacobson is a new David Pakman Show member. Jose Vasquez is a new David Pakman Show member. And Kevin Kovac is a new David Pakman Show member. That is 5 more. That gets us to 11 new website members, which puts us where we need to be to open the phone lines, and I will do that in a little bit. And it puts us just more than halfway to me committing to stream tomorrow. I've been getting so many messages from people complaining that I'm just not streaming enough. And they said what you should do is make the membership challenge that you will commit to stream the next day. And that's what I'm doing. If we get to 20, I will stream tomorrow. And I want to also say thanks to Sean Akutagawa, who has signed up. And that gets us to 12 for the evening, which is just delightful. 12 is a great number. There it is, 12. All right, very good. Okay, let me do a couple other super chats here. By the way, welcome. If you're just coming across my channel, if you've never been here before, please, please, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. YouTube has now completely deprioritized us in the algorithm. And unfortunately, what that has done is it is slowing down our views. It is slowing down our the number of new subscribers that we're getting daily. YouTube is really screwing independent producers. So if you're new here, at minimum, hit that subscribe button. There will be many streams as the impeachment of Donald Trump gets going. Joseph Thompson, this must be a good day and it's about time. It is about time. Whether it's good will depend on how it's handled. Rolando Winborn has signed up on YouTube. Thank you. Zachary Anderson sends $1 super chat. Sean Lordo, could this situation end up helping Joe Biden's campaign? Yeah, I actually said this on the broadcast show today. One of the unintended consequences of what Donald Trump is trying to do or is doing, withholding $250 million from Ukraine if and until Ukraine smears Biden, I don't know what it would do if Biden is the nominee in a general election, but I'm convinced that this is going to help Biden in the primary. And my prediction is that next week polling will reflect that. Rufus Evans has signed up on YouTube. Thank you. Rolando Wilborn says, if you're Nancy, how do you handle the impeachment proceedings? Well, I basically stop the hyperbole and keep things not compartmentalized, but go only as far as where the facts take you. Right now, she has done the right thing, which is she has said, what we know right now, unquestionably, without a doubt, supports an impeachment inquiry, and that's what we're doing next. And during the process, just go through the impeachment inquiry without saying anything about the next steps. Let the information bring everybody to the conclusion rather than assuming it on the way in. OK Composite says, if the Ukraine call, If the Ukraine call is the focus of impeachment and it turns out the Bidens really did have corrupt dealings in Ukraine, we're toast. Absolutely. But again, I've seen no evidence of that. Jackson, David, you need to stop reading YouTube comments. Nothing of value there. Judge reception by like/dislike. Stop giving disclaimers. Love the show. Yeah, listen, I read very few YouTube comments because it is a toxic cesspool of the worst of the worst of the worst. But even looking at likes, dislikes is not a great barometer because sometimes our videos will get brigaded when, someone like, I won't even name anybody, but other people will sometimes do videos about my videos, and then they send just a irrational bunch of followers to dislike my video. So even that is not necessarily the right barometer. The Dude used to be a Tulsi fan, but her recent Rubin showing and now impeachment response, gotta say, David, your misgivings were correct. I don't know what Tulsi said about impeachment. Let's see what she said. Tulsi Gabbard won't join fellow Democrats' calls for impeachments. Get the hell out of here. I mean, I just have no page. What is she polling? She's polling 1. Okay, she polled 0 in a Fox News. Get out of here. Who cares? It's just so. It's like, okay, hey, you know what? Tom Steyer has this or that position. Wow, Steyer, Gabbard, give me a break. Okay, Dave Lendl with $1.69 super chat. Thank you. RXW Tendencies. Hey, David, I was the caller who questioned some of the motives behind progressives' coverage of far-right pundits. Would love to continue the conversation. All right. Well, let's do that sometime. Armando Araujo. Che boludo, David, do you drink mate? And if so, do you have a special gourd? Nah, I never got into mate. I know that, what kind of an Argentinian am I if I don't drink mate, but I've just never liked it. Charm Anders says, Bernie is down in New Hampshire. He won by 23 in 2016. Sad. I've covered that, and that is not the best sign for Bernie. Dusty Dark Horse, how soon can we expect the polls to move? I think by early next week, we will have polls that reflect the initial reaction to the impeachment inquiry, as well as in the Democratic primary, initial reaction to the Biden conspiracy theories, which is what I see them as right now. It's Just Mimi says, hey, keep it up, David. I truly appreciate your fight. Michael Wheeler, who are you currently endorsing for president? Whoever is the Democratic nominee. But I'm a Bernie Warren guy myself. Jason Smith with a $20 super chat. Word is Democrats are getting evidence of money laundering from Deutsche Bank and Mazars. The evidence against Trump will be so compelling that the Senate will have no choice but to move forward or risk losing seats. What is your thought? Have not yet read that. Would be absolutely delightful. But I will research that. The largest super chat of the evening, $49.99, is coming up next. But before I get to that, let me do a couple of other new member welcomes. Sonny Ferguson is a new David Pakman Show member. Using that info, signed up on my website. Joe Shannon is a new David Pakman Show member. Frederick Tulin is a new David Pakman Show member. David Schultz is a new David Pakman Show member. Robert Brophy is a new David Pakman Show member. And let me see if I missed anybody here. And Kyle Mizrahi is a new David Pakman Show member. That gets me caught up. That is 6 more. And that gets us to 18 for the evening. Wow, this is a strong showing. The other night when I did a live stream of the third Democratic debate, we had like 44 new members, which was a record for any live stream. And 18 is a very, very solid showing. So we'll get the phone lines opened up in a little bit. Christopher Smith, $49.99, the most generous super chat of the evening. I really appreciate all the hard work you put into your channel and your research. People like you help solidify Republicans are never going to change because they would rather eat their own young to make sure Team Red always wins. There's a lot of just like checking boxes and seeing politics as sport on both sides, but it's way worse with Republicans. I mean, listen, when we had that story of a Republican being caught on a recording with a list of other Texas Republicans that should be primaried, and there was a huge cover-up by Republicans because they thought it was so damaging they didn't want the recording getting out. That happened on the Democratic side. You would have leftists saying, somebody's doing that? let's release it, let's get it out in the open, and let's get the person out of here because this person is toxic. Republicans instead want to cover up, and it's just sport for them. You're completely right. Annabelle the Paladin says, if Trump or any president gets removed from office by impeachment, is there a law in place to prevent them from running again? I don't know the answer to that. For whatever reason, I'm assuming there is, but I don't know the answer to that. Chris Parks, thanks for signing up on YouTube. Appreciate that. Tyler Bale asks, what are the odds of Democrats winning 2020 in spite of any negative consequences of the inquiry? Well, I don't know odds, but this is the whole point. If Trump successfully plays the victim card, then he may be able to use the impeachment inquiry to his benefit in 2020. Donald J. Trump is here. Low unemployment and business optimism is high. Make America great again. Hope that was worth $2, Donnie boy. Draco Rosso says, will China be emboldened by impeachment against Hong Kong? I don't have any particular reason to think that that's a direct causal thing, but it's an interesting question. Jackson, look at the typical amount of likes and dislikes. If a video gets brigaded, likes will be the same, but dislikes will be huge. If likes are less than normal, it's a bad video. Okay. Take my word, it's a little more complicated than that, but I appreciate the idea. John Connor says, please support the Venus Project. It is true change. Daniel Krieger says, you and Kyle Kulinski should debate about something. Alexander Padilla says, who has hurt the country more, George W. Bush or Donald Trump? That is really difficult to say. It's different times of hurt, different kinds of hurt, I would say. Chad Derkowitz says, you think this re-electing him? From Phoenix, Arizona. Not sure what you mean, Chad. Adam Munoz is a new member on YouTube. Rad Willie 1 asks, I disagree that it's a conspiracy. Biden's son was on the board of a Ukrainian power company. Why? Okay, check out my video in a couple of hours. Harrison G has signed up on YouTube. Rolando Winborn, are you going to do a video on Greta's speech? Probably not, to be perfectly honest, but I talked about it on the members-only bonus show today. Charmander says, any proof that Bernie can win the Rust Belt versus Trump? No, there's no proof that anything can. Listen, there's no proof that anything will happen, but there's plenty of evidence that it could happen based on the polling that we're seeing. Brendan Getter says, where do you get your news from? Who do you watch on YouTube? I basically read. I barely watch any TV news. I don't watch any YouTube news. I've never seen a lot of the shows that I think people who watch my show watch. I just read. And on YouTube, I mostly watch, I mostly watch chess streamers. And what else do I watch on YouTube? I'll watch like concert videos for bands that I like, but that's basically it. Sean King says, do you think there could be a deal made behind closed doors if Trump resigns, Pence will pardon, like Nixon Ford? Who do you prefer, Trump or Pence? So yeah, that's certainly something that could happen. And at this point, you know, Pence would definitely be less scandal-ridden than Trump, but Trump's doing real damage at this point. So I find it, they just both need to go. That's the reality. Gregory Magershak says, David, I built a solution that would greatly help you make reliable revenue after the YouTube changes. Please try to remember to add me back on Facebook after the show. I would like to discuss. Yeah, I don't do any of that stuff via Facebook, and also I'm at my limit of Facebook friends. So the best thing would be to email me, Gregory. Thank you. Okay, let me welcome Camille Kanapka, who is a new David Pakman Show member. I very much appreciate that. That gets us to 19, way more than our target of 10 to open the phone lines, and just one member shy of 20. If we get to 20 members, I said I would do another stream tomorrow. Sam I Am asks, it's possible to impeach McConnell? Over what would be the question. Galakills says, how does impeachment appear to other countries? I think to most countries it appears as extremely overdue. Patrick Henry asks, is Bernie our last chance to take down the establishment? I've never seen a candidate quite like him. Bernie is something else for sure, but I think it's important to remember that there are numerous people running in the 2020 Democratic primary who would be by far the most progressive presidents of the United States if they were to win. Chad Derkowitz says, do you think impeaching will energize the Republican Party? It may very well. The question is, what is revealed through the impeachment inquiry? John Connor, David, can you please interview Peter Joseph from the Zeitgeist Movement again? Maybe. He's been on, but it's been a little while. Daft Bread says, hey, David, love the show. Mobamba or Sicko Mode? I have no idea what that is. Sounds like a video game thing. Harrison G says, I'd love to hear your take on a potential libertarian wave. Establishment Republicans have been resilient. I see potential if impeachment proceeds. I have a hard time imagining there will be such a libertarian wave. Hello, David, Mr. Ragdollar asks, I was curious to know if you support the cause. Cheers, your friend Large Soda. I don't know what cause you're referring to, my friend. Alex Billings says it's time Pelosi took some action. She's been killing the Dems. AOC's been calling for this for a long time. Looking forward to 2028. It's a long time from now. That is a very long time from now. Let's see here. Young, Dumb, and Baroque says, does McConnell have any means to block impeachment hearings from reaching the Senate once we get there? I believe the answer is no. Steve Ernsky says, I'm a first-year, first-grade teacher. Who do you believe will do more for our teachers nationally, Bernie or Warren? I don't know enough about their positions on teachers to be able to say for sure. They would both be a drastic improvement over what we have right now. A Nincompoop 25 says, rate your top 5 chess YouTubers. So let's see. I like Eric Rosen. I watch Hikaru, although I find his streams less instructive than Eric's. I like watching Ben Feingold, although I don't fully understand why is he playing deliberately poorly sometimes or not? Or is he just not quite so good in some cases? So the 3 of them. I like, who else? I'm trying to think who else I like. I don't know. Those are the 3 I would say I watch the most, probably. GR has arrived. GR says, mark it, Pac Deezy. If you aren't ready yet, mark it later on. Write it down either way because it is not going away. I think you know that. Love, GR. Okay. The Tagder is a new member. Danubian says, here we go, it's happening. Matt Chavez says, jobs lost due to Medicare for all. What is Bernie's plan? I've addressed this. Check out the video on my channel. Paul Atreides says, great stream. Keep it up. P.S. Rest in peace. Boogie2988 died. I'm sorry I don't know who that is, but I'm sorry to hear that as well. I want to say thanks to Sonny Greco, who is new member number 20 of the evening. Thank you so much. And I want to also read this super chat from Sly One Music, who says, hey, Dave, big fan and member. Do you think the scandal will boost Biden in the polls? I believe that it actually will. Yeah, I made that commentary earlier today. AWLQ says, I've heard critics of Bernie's Wall Street speculation tax say that Sweden implemented a similar tax in the 1980s, largely unsuccessful. Love to, whoa, my entire thing just froze there briefly. I hope other people's, did everybody's video freeze? That was weird. No, it didn't freeze? Okay. Yeah, that was weird. It's very popular to say that everything has backfired on Sweden, but it's not true, and I'd have to look at it in more detail. Brian Stevens says that boogie person did not die, and it's a false rumor. I apologize. I don't know anything about it. Justin Couran says, as big news as impeachment is, the fact that on the world stage an American president refused to defend a journalist was truly frightening for journalists around the world. Of course. I've been talking about that for a long time. Okay, on that note, let's do phone calls. The phone number is 617-830-4750. But let's see. Do we want to do it right now? Yeah, I guess we'll do it. I guess we can get set up for it right now. Let me do that. We'll get pulled up. So tomorrow's stream, by the way, we have gotten to enough. Whoa, that was weird. We've gotten to enough new members that I am going to be doing another live stream tomorrow. Tomorrow night's live stream will be on Twitch, okay? So please make sure that you're following me at twitch.tv/David Pakman, because tomorrow night's live stream is going to be on Twitch. Did someone say my entire live stream is gone now? No, I don't think so. Okay. All right, very good. So 617-830-4750 is the number. Let me get myself connected, and then I'm going to give you a few guidelines for the phone calls.
Thank you for calling into the David Pakman Show. Please do not use speakerphone. Have your question ready and listen for David to call out your area code.
All right, here we go. So we are going to go. Oh, I do need to make sure I'm taking notes about all of the callers. We actually now have a scoring system. If people only knew the things that were going on behind the scenes here, we now have a scoring system for callers. It's been formalized. So I keep track of every caller, and everybody gets a score, and the score affects how likely I am to pick up on you in the future. So I'm going to start going through phone calls based on notes that I have about callers and all sorts of different things. But that being said, if you sign up on my... by the way, yeah, this super chat, check out Agadmator. Yeah, I watch him as well. He's really, really good. Okay, let me just make sure I don't get ahead of myself here. All right, so if you become a member and you want to get right on, let me know somehow, maybe via super chat, what your area code is, and then I can expedite getting you on. All right, it's been 4 months since we heard from him. Let's go first to Jimmy from Philly to see what's on his mind. Jimmy, it's been so long. What's going on?
David, it's been long because you're not advertising your call-in shows on YouTube.
No, that's not true. Every time we go live, there is a notification that goes out if you are signed up to the notifications.
David.
Yeah.
I used to get the notifications. Now I'm not getting them.
That's your problem. So here, look, I'm holding up my phone.
That's my problem.
There it is. David Pakman Show is live now. So I'm holding up for the audience.
Well, yeah, no, I got this one. Obviously, that's why I'm here. But I don't get any other call-ins.
Is there anything
you do
other
call-ins, not live shows?
This is very meta. So if we can talk about the live call shows, or you could maybe ask a question or make a comment too.
I can ask a question? You're actually going to answer it, not gaslight me? What do you think about this whole impeachment thing? Don't you think that, common sense says it's going to hurt the Dems. They got nothing to impeach them for.
Well, I don't agree with that, but where I do maybe see eye to eye with you, Jimmy, is that there is a risk here that it backfires on Democrats. And I want to be really clear. You're saying it's going to backfire on Democrats, I think, because you're saying there's nothing impeachable. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I think it could backfire on Democrats because Donald Trump is very good at self-victimizing and downplaying what is in the news. And
wait a minute, David. If there's evidence, then he should be impeached.
Right. Well, that's why we're having the inquiry.
All that downplaying and all that ain't going to matter.
Well, we will see how the inquiry goes then.
That's my feeling on it. If there's real evidence to impeach him, then impeach him. Of course, he'll be acquitted in the Senate. Everyone knows that.
I agree with you. A Republican Senate is not going to convict him. There's no question.
Right. Just like they didn't convict Clinton, and Clinton was guilty as hell. Clinton lied and he obstructed justice. He tried to get that girl to testify a certain way.
Jimmy, are you
in Arkansas?
You sound lucid this evening. Are you drinking?
No, not at all. I don't drink as much, David, because I do LSD every weekend. It helps me.
I can notice you are noticeably more lucid than when you've called in drunk. So I appreciate that, Jimmy.
Believe it or not, psychedelics help you.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
What do they help you do?
I don't know. I just, whereas before I would go an impulse go buy some beers, now I think about it and say, I don't really need that.
You do LSD
and I
instead.
didn't have that kind of control before.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right. Very good, Jimmy. And is landscaping slowing down now that we're getting into the colder season?
Slightly. We'll be doing leaves soon.
Good. Very good. And
Got
any
stung
advice?
by 10 bees the other day.
Do you advise me? Let me get some advice from you, Jimmy. Do you advise me to rake my leaves in batches as they come down to avoid having to do it all at once, or do you recommend letting them all fall and then doing it in one shot?
Well, firstly, David, I doubt that you're going to rake. You're going to hire somebody. But
No, I rake my own
depending
leaves.
on-
I rake my own leaves. Thank
Yeah.
you. I do.
Well, depending on like if we have a house with 50 trees,
Yeah.
we'll do it 3 or 4 times, but evenly spaced, like every 2 weeks.
Genius.
But if it's a house with not much, we might wait to the end of the year. But generally, you should rake them up because certain leaves are acidic and can mess up your lawn. So, you know, I mean, once you get a covering, every 10 days or so, you can do it. But buy a good backpack blower, David. It makes it easy.
Oh, yeah. I don't have. Are those gas powered? I don't want any gas powered tools.
Yeah.
I only do electric.
Why not?
I don't want to keep gas around the house. Yeah.
Well, you could probably buy a decent electric backpack. I don't know, but backpack's the way to go. I mean, you
Okay.
don't even have to rake, David. You don't even have
Yeah.
to rake. You just blow it.
Very good. All right.
David.
Okay, Jimmy,
Good
thank you so
talking.
much. Appreciate the phone call. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Very good. All right, Jimmy. See, I can have reasonable conversations with whoever. That is proof of it for sure. Let's go next to our caller to the from the 978 area code. Who's calling today from 978?
Hey, what's going on, David? It's Leo. My name's
Hey, Leo. What's going on?
Not much. I was the same caller actually that called in. You did the video about the progressive YouTubers.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on the phone. So yeah, no, I wanted to make it clear. I definitely don't take any issue with independent YouTubers, making a profit off of exposing bad ideas. It was more
Right.
just the fact that like you, sometimes Sam Cedar, et cetera, those people that I named, bring light to, like, for example, when Ben Shapiro said the thing about Brett Kavanaugh's, like that whole thing, like that's something like that isn't needed to be discussed. It's not something that brings value, I think, to the viewers. It's just Ben Shapiro saying something, and I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about with his most recent statements.
Yeah, so Leo, you're taking issue with my story choice, it sounds like.
More so that, and progressive YouTubers in general, I see they'll cover maybe Candace Owens says something that's very outlandish, or Steven Crowder,
Yeah.
et cetera. And it's like what helps these people get so big is the constant coverage of them. And I think it'd be better if, because I like, you guys, I've subscribed to your channel and stuff. So it's not that I don't like what you guys do. It's just that I think it'd be better if you guys didn't just because they need that attention, those people, and that's what gets them so big. Milo, Yiannopoulos, whoever it might be, they thrive off that attention. And I think it would be better to not give it to them, I guess, is my point.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's a perfectly reasonable position to take, and we've made a calculation that there is benefit in the net to occasionally covering what some of these people say, but different people can certainly disagree.
Yeah, I guess so. I just are you familiar? I don't know if you're familiar with ContraPoints. Have you ever heard of Natalie Wynn? She's a YouTuber on the left.
I've interviewed her on my show, and the interview did very, very well.
Oh, you have had her on the show?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Well, no, I was going to say, because I think she does a good job at exposing some of those alt-right or far-right ideas that kind of brings some value rather than just kind of, and I'm not saying you guys don't bring value. I'm just saying at times when you guys discuss, whether it be Steven Crowder said something or whatever the controversy might be, it's not needed to have a video, because there's always a video, whether it be.
Listen, I think you're getting, Leo, I with peace and love, I think you're getting a little bit presumptuous by being the person who determines what is and isn't of value. Something may not be up your alley, right? But certainly, if you prefer ContraPoint's video essay style thing, then catching up on what's going on in the news and some of the wacky things that right-wingers said, then you can choose that. But to start determining what is and isn't of value, it's like saying this music is objectively better than that music. I mean, it's a matter of taste, right?
Yeah, but we can clearly see that the constant coverage of these people is what's gotten them to the point where they're at in their career. I don't think they'd be
I think what's gotten them to what they are in their career is the fact that the right loves to rally around the personality of some of these clowns in a way that the left does not, and it allows these grifters to build a cult of personality around themselves. I don't think it's the left critiquing their ideas that has pushed them into the limelight. I just disagree.
Yeah, I don't think I think it's maybe bit of both. I don't think it's necessarily one thing or the other necessarily. I definitely think you're right about that they circle around these grifters, and I think part of the way that they get so big also, though, I think it contributes by doing videos that just bring constant attention. But clearly, we obviously disagree.
All right, Leo, very good. I appreciate you disagreeing respectfully, and I hope to hear from you again. Thank you very much. Let me say thank you to, hold on. No, there is not a new member. Okay, so I'm going to do super chats and take more calls. Just a reminder, if you're new here, make sure you've hit the subscribe button and you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate when people do that. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers, although YouTube is certainly making it difficult enough. The primary source of funding for our show, for everything we do, are website memberships. Joinpacman.com is the website. 20 people have signed up tonight, and that has gotten us to open the phone lines, and it has also gotten us, it's gotten me to commit to doing another stream tomorrow night, which will be on Twitch at twitch.tv/David Pacman. By all means, please keep those memberships coming, and I'll keep thanking folks. Let me do a couple of other super chats. Rhetorical Oracle sends a $2 super chat. Michael Wheeler says, can you do a POTUS poll right here now? I don't know what you mean. I'm not sure how I could do a poll right now. Kyle Clues says, A1 C7 judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. There it is. If you are impeached, you can't run again. And Ry Minders suggested Agad Mator for chess commentary. He's really, really good. Should Bernie supporters speak more about how Warren will take PAC money in the general? By all means, if they think that that is a good argument against Warren, then they should use it to their advantage. Coopage says, Libby soy boys don't rake their own leaves. Well, I must not be a Libby soy boy then. Jorby Blorby says 828. Oh, Jorby Blorby is the caller from 828. But the thing is, I don't know that you're a member, and I also don't actually see any callers from 828 on the hold right now. That's weird. Rob Z says Tulsi qualified. For what? Oh, I guess the fourth debate. Jorby Blorby is a new YouTube member. Oh, okay. All right, there it is. And I see 828. All right, 828, you are on live. What's going on, 828?
That's me, correct?
Yes, it is.
Hi. I have a lot of things that I'd like to ask you, but since you have limited time, since the Senate is clearly the biggest obstacle towards bringing Trump to justice, and the Senate has been a big obstacle to a lot of things, what do you think the best strategy is, be it a certain selection of states or a certain approach? What is the best strategy to take the Senate in 2020 or, if need be, 2022 so that we can get this issue out of the way?
I don't see any strategy that will get Democrats the Senate in 2020. And I think the strategy in 2022 is to just run good campaigns. I mean, what you have to understand about the Senate is that because there are 100 seats, 1/3 of which are up for re-election every election cycle, there is sort of like a systemic bias that either favors Democrats or favors Republicans. And I've not seen any credible path for Democrats to take over the Senate in 2020. I'm not saying we shouldn't try you got to fight every single election, but I just don't see it. So then it's just a matter of coming in 2022, hopefully with a Democratic president, and working to take it over then.
And if I could just have a quick follow-up for that, just one suggestion for 2022. What would be one example of a solid campaign strategy, specifically in a state that is not necessarily either not necessarily safe or that seems like it could be vulnerable? Like, I know that Montana comes to mind because sometimes they do elect Democrats statewide.
It's 3 years away. The strategy that makes sense in 2022 is in great part going to be influenced by, was Donald Trump reelected or was Donald Trump not reelected? So it's so difficult to say at this point.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you for taking my question.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let me say thanks to Brandon Ransom. Brandon Ransom is the 21st new member of the evening on my website. Really appreciate that, Brandon. And I also want to say thanks to, there's one more here. I also want to say thanks to Adam Weiner, who is new member number 22 of the evening. It's shaping up to be a very, very solid stream. Let's see here. Is there anything else Jimmy from Philly says, didn't ContraPoints get bounced from YouTube? I have no reason to think that. Forbidden Fruit Basket says, shout out to my buddy Sahil, a.k.a. Progressive Voice. Tristan McCoy says, this is Tristan from KCMO. What is the number? The number is 617-830-4750. And on that note, let's go next to the caller from the 208 area code. Who's calling today from 208?
Hello, David. This is Spencer.
Hey, Spencer. What's going on?
Yeah, just a quick question. And sorry if you answered this earlier. I'm mainly just curious, what is the parameters of the impeachment inquiry? What kind of things are they going to be investigating?
Well, as it's been announced, and I can even put it up on the screen here, the probe centers on whether Trump abused his presidential powers and sought help from a foreign government for his reelection, vis-a-vis the Ukraine-Biden fiasco. So, as announced, that will be the focus of the inquiry.
Okay, and it can't extend beyond that.
That's a good question because, I think that Yemen should be on the table. I think financial stuff should be on the table. I don't know. I don't know whether they have to delineate that ahead of time in this way.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate what you do. I watch your show every day. I'm a member and all that good stuff. Also, one last thing. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many movies. I couldn't. It's like saying, what's my favorite book? I've read 5 in the last month, and 2 of them are really great. And it's so hard to say. I never think in superlatives in that way.
Then I guess I'll say you should add a movie or 2 in your book recommendation segment.
I barely watch movies. The last movie I watched, I think it was In Bruges right before I went to Belgium, and that's like a 10, 15-year-old movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a throwback.
Yeah. All right, Spencer, thank you for the call. Appreciate it very much. RJ Duarte has signed up on YouTube, which I very much appreciate. Joanna Corvinus says Pelosi certainly took her effing time. 86:45. Blackened Sprite. Hey, David, just sending some appreciation, really. I like your corner sofa. Thanks for everything. Keep it up. Rick Park has also signed up. I'm not going to do any more boogie stuff because I just don't understand it. Louis Gross is a new member on YouTube. Rhetorical Oracle says, if Bernie wins the nomination, will the DNC scuttle many general election efforts, or that they would ultimately align behind him relatively painlessly? They will eventually get behind him, although maybe reluctantly so for the establishment for sure. Let me say thanks to, we have a new $25 patron, Christopher McCann. I'm going to count it to our number of new members. I want to say thanks to Joshua Wilson, who just signed up on my website. I want to say thanks to Jaylee Moore, who just signed up on my website. And I think there's one more here. And I want to say thanks to Howard Buxbaum, who has signed up on my website. That is 4 new members. That gets us to 26. We have blown out of the water the initial goal of 10, and we're actually crushing the goal of 20, which gets us another live stream tomorrow evening. Let's go to somebody else. Let's go to, where do we want to go? I have a note that Sam from 202 is an interesting caller. Sam, what's going on?
Hi, is it me?
That is you.
Okay, I want to say 2 things. Number 1, do you think the Republican Party, you know how the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, it changed even though it took 30 years, beginning with FDR and then ending with Nixon?
Yes, okay, yeah, that's to a certain extent, that's true.
They switched places. Do you think
the realignment was more complicated than that, but that being said, I'm curious what the question is on that basis.
The question is, do you think Trump is the beginning of the parties becoming totally alien to what they were, say, in 2000?
I don't know that Trump is necessary. I mean, listen, we're terrible at predicting the future, so you may be completely right, Sam. I don't have reason to believe right now that Trump is going to cause a restructuring of the Democratic Party. I think that it's the progressive movement within the Democratic Party that may modify the Democratic Party. I do believe it is plausible, and I don't know how likely, that Donald Trump is going to cause a rift within the Republican Party, that it will either effectively become 2 parties or be forced into restructuring. But so yes, I think more on one side than the other. What you're saying is plausible.
Also, I did a lot of research. I did a huge Google dive on. I have another book recommendation. I'll get to that in a sec. I
Please.
did a huge Google dive on Scandinavian history and like how they got to where they are now, like with their socialism and whatnot. It took about 70 years to go from. I'm not saying the United States is where they were at the end of World War II, but
Yeah.
at the end of World War II, remember Denmark had nothing. They blew up their boats so Hitler couldn't use them, and everybody. But I think it would take 50 years to get Sanders' proposals done. What would you, as a progressive, say to that?
Well, my question is, what socialist countries are you talking about in Scandinavia?
I'm talking about the Scandinavian countries like Denmark, Sweden, like how they have free childcare, free health care, all that stuff. It didn't come overnight.
Right, but they're not. That's not socialism.
I'm talking about democratic socialism. I'm sorry.
You mean social democracy, right? Social democracy.
Yeah. Capitalism, but with a huge welfare system.
Yeah. Listen, these things are a process. I don't know. In general, people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. I think that is generally an accurate thing. So I don't pretend to know how long some of these big reforms will take, but something like Medicare for all, for example, is going to be a process. And the beginning is going to be having a president who is for those things, but that is just the beginning.
Right. And by the way, I have a book recommendation for you. Stop me if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
It's called The Dead Zone by Stephen King. It's based, this guy, the main character in it, is basically if Trump was actually smart. That's what his nickname should be.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one. I recently read my first Stephen King novel, The Outsider, and it was very solid.
You mentioned that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also this guy's a lot like Darth Sidious because he manipulates the whole political system and then he makes himself a dictator and then you'll see what happens.
All right. I will check it out. Thank you for the call, Sam. Good to hear from you.
All right. And by the way, the beginning is really sad. All
Okay.
right, David, have a great day and best of luck.
All right, Sam, thank you so much for the call. Let me say thanks to 3 new members. Shannon Starling has signed up on my website. Kyle Kloos has signed up on my website. And Nick Teal has signed up on my website. That gets us to 29 new members this evening. That is just fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Let me see here. Oh, are people saying joinpacman.com is down? Join Pacman, that is just a disaster. Can you imagine if the sign-up website went down during a stream when people are just completely titillated by the possibility of becoming members? Oh, it does seem to be running slowly. It's running slowly, but it is working. So let's see, I could probably reset the entire website, but it could take a little bit of time. Yeah, all right. I apologize about that, folks. Let me do a couple of other super chats. Kadeem says, do you think it's weird we're protecting the Saudis' oil assets when they were the ones that attacked us on 9/11, also support ISIS? Yeah, listen, I've been talking about our relationship with the Saudis for 10 years, and it's sickening. The Tadger says, hey, David, pretty massive Brexit news across the pond. Any comments on it, and will you do some videos on it? Probably tomorrow. Crypto Mojito, what do you feel progressives can do tomorrow about advancing Medicare for all? Tomorrow, I think the most, listen, I don't know about tomorrow, but I would love to see, Vermont tried this and it failed. I would love to see state single payer attempted somewhere and as a test case. And I think it would be really great. Let's see here. Hot Mustard Gas 20, I just signed up on your website. You already said my name. I like how you were so chill and honest. Thanks for the hard work that you do. Thank you. I appreciate you signing up. Alex Billing, are you taking calls from the UK? If you can call the number, you can get on. But the system is not limited by who can call in. The number is 617-830-4750. If you want to make a long-distance phone call or use Skype, by all means. Android says, David, you know Trump won't be impeached. Not the conversation. The question is, will the inquiry damage his re-election chances? Okay, let me do another call here. see who else. Let's go to someone new. Let's go to our caller from the 917 who's been holding for 25 minutes. Who's calling today from 917?
Hey, David, this is Rick
Hey, Rick, what's going on?
from Northern New Jersey. Doing well. Second time calling in live. So my question is, if they can investigate other matters other than what's going on in the Ukraine, what are the top 5 matters do you think they should investigate?
I don't know about 5. I mean, the Trump supporting the Saudi war in Yemen has got to be up there, and it's arguably impeachable. And then Trump financial crimes is what I would be looking at. I don't even think you need to touch what has become a toxic tinderbox of the Russia stuff.
So are you thinking about like money laundering?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Great.
Hello? Oh, you there?
Yep, I'm here. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for the Q&A.
All right, Rick, thank you for the call. Very much appreciate it. Let's go next to our caller from the 515 area code. Who's calling today from 515? 515, maybe you've got me muted. I can't hear you if you're talking. 515, I'll give you one more opportunity here. All right. No 515. That's disappointing. Let's go to, you know who we haven't heard from for a while? We haven't heard from Oz for a while. Oz, what's going on?
Hello?
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Hey,
can.
David, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Lots going on. There's a lot I'd love to talk to you about, but
Yeah.
I think one major thing is that Trump being impeachable for his involvement with the Yemen war.
Yep.
They won't touch that because he's not the only major politician and president that's been in bed with the Saudis. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, and it involved Obama and the Bushes, and there's the whole Carlyle group with Bin Laden, and so I mean, with that said, isn't it kind of right to say that there was somewhat of an inside job with 9/11? Because with such heavy involvement with the Saudis, but I've always kind of thought the Saudis were an appendage of British and Western intelligence.
No, I would not say
the House of Saud.
I would not say that 9/11 was an inside job. No.
Well, there's elements that were enabling the Saudis, and they let it happen, basically.
I don't even know that I agree with that, because a lot of the individuals were Saudi, but weren't they trained and radicalized and associated with groups that were not in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I know, 15 of the hijackers were Saudi. And,
yes, by nationality,
Saudi, and the whole Wahhabist ideology comes, is nurtured from the House of Saud. So I think it's all proxies.
Yeah, I'm not denying that I'm not denying the radicalizing influence of Wahhabism.
Also, sorry to interrupt. Also, I really, I used to be involved with the Baha'i groups, and I met a lot of Iranians and Farsi people, and Iran, as far as the population, not the regime, they're way more progressive than the Saudis are. And
absolutely, absolutely, no question. Particularly,
everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Everything that's happened with Iran since the CIA overthrew the original regime that was trying to nationalize the oil. That's on the CIA. Instituting the Shah, and then the birth of the Ayatollahs. That's all the fruits of the CIA's meddling.
Oz, let me ask you a question. Did you hear the phone call from Jimmy from Philly?
Oh, I didn't. I just got home from work.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask what he sounded lucid, like not drunk, and he said he hasn't been drinking.
Yeah.
And I know that previously you've commented about that, so I wanted to get your thoughts, but it sounds like you missed it.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I called you a couple months ago, and I had been sober for a while, but I relapsed, and I've been drinking quite a bit lately. But
Oh, you have. I'm so sorry
I
to hear
try
that, Oz. I did have in my notes that you were doing well when you called in five months ago.
Yeah. Well, I did call you a bunch of times, blacked out recently, and probably left some rambling drunk messages. But I'm not drunk right now. But
Okay, all
yeah,
right. Well, Oz,
I had to
that's
move.
sad.
I had to move from. There's one last thing I wanted to touch on. That I had to move from Shasta. I'm back in Cincinnati. That's where
Yeah.
I'm originally from, Kentucky, and I lived out there for 8 years. And the wildfires just got too out of control. And I had to evacuate 3 different times last year, and then I had to evacuate from a little one this year. So I just got tired of it and I moved back. But and so I'm basically starting over. And I'm telling you what. There's Bernie Sanders. I'm 100% behind him because he's got the cojones to say he stands for land reform, and that's a major issue for me. I've dealt with homelessness. I'm a hard worker. I'm a tree climber and arborist and forester,
Right.
and I'm basically starting all over again. And I think there's back in the day there used to be inmates used to be given property when they were released from prison, so they could work the land and have something to go back to.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen anymore. There's enough federal land that every homeless person could be given an acre, and it wouldn't even make a dent in the federal land. And I think anyone who's willing to work the land should be given the opportunity to live on the land and work on it. And I think that's a major. That's why I'm really behind Bernie now on that, because he's the only one who will ever say anything like that. So yeah, I really appreciate the call, David.
All right, Oz, thank you.
Man.
Hope you're able to get back. Is the phrase on the wagon, or is it to be on the wagon is not to be drinking, right?
Yeah.
I hope you get back on it.
I wish there was more secular, recovery. They push a lot of the religious stuff in the recovery, and it turns a lot of people off.
Yeah. All right, Oz, thank you
issue.
for the call. I'm wishing you the best. Sad to hear you're not doing so well lately. Let me say thanks to Katrina Frulon and Brianne Lopriore, new members number 30 and 31 of the evening. So we have, not only do we have open phones, I'll be doing another stream tomorrow as well. Let me do a couple of super chats. Jessica Ann says, David, what's your opinion on Bernie's Democracy Day bill to make Election Day a national holiday? Thank you. I love that painting behind you. Yeah, just a poster I got in Paris. So I'm fine with Election Day being a national holiday. I think there might be more benefit to moving Election Day to a weekend, and I've read views about doing one, either or both, but I think we need to do anything we can to increase voter turnout for sure. T-Class Official says, not the San Antonio troll. I don't even see the let me see if I have any San Antonio callers on the line. There is a let's just see who it is. Let's just go to 210. 210 is a tinderbox of an area code for us. Who's calling today from 210, which I presume is a caller from San Antonio?
Yes, hi, is this me?
Yes, it is. Oh, you don't sound like the San Antonio troll.
No, I am not.
Good.
I'm T-Class Official. Hi.
Good.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm great. Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I had a question about kind of about abortion.
Okay.
So I'm kind of falling off the pro-choice side a little bit, and I'm a progressive liberal like you, and I've been watching your show, and it's very informative. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
But I think the particular argument right now about it being the whole woman's body, woman's choice thing, I don't think that's a particularly good argument that we should be making as liberals or anyone on the left, because I mean, it's just factually untrue. I mean, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it a baby or whether you want to say it's a fetus, I mean, it is a biologically different entity inside the womb of the mother, and so when it's clear, the DNA is a different person, and well, if you and that's the thing. When do we call it a person? And in the pregnancy, and at a certain point, if we do call it a person, should everything be illegal after that? Should abortions be illegal after a certain point? And I just don't think that the I don't think the her body her choice thing is carrying.
Listen, I don't agree.
Good argument.
I don't agree with your particular disassembling of that particular defense, but I do agree with you that that's never for me been like the strongest defense. So generally speaking, I don't think that it is the best crutch for the left, the pro-choice movement to stand on.
Well, sorry.
Yeah.
But it is.
Hello? Okay, that's weird. All right, I guess we lost him. Jenna Killpop asks, do you prefer signing up on Patreon or on your site? I would say my site because we keep more of the money. So all of these different methods for supporting the show, Patreon, YouTube subscription, YouTube paid subscription, any of them, they keep anywhere from like 5 to 30% of your payment, which is just cuckoo. On my website, we just pay 2.9% to process credit and debit cards, and we keep 97.1%. So that's always the preferred method. And on that note, Aiden Basher has signed up on my website, and Aiden is new member number 32 of the evening, and we retain 97.1% of every payment that Aiden makes because that's just how it works. Hot Mustard Gas has signed up on YouTube. David Corona sends a $9.99 super chat. JC sends a $10 super chat saying, if Democrats win the presidency, hold the House, and win the Senate, but short of 60, can we pass a carbon tax through reconciliation? If so, should we? Senate will not be won by Democrats in 2020, unfortunately. Pat Doyle and Art Flores send $2 and $1.99. Art asking, David, is illegal immigration a victimless crime? It is. There is. Listen, putting politics aside, that is not a yes or no answer. That is something that has to be discussed in a number of different ways. But the victims are not the ones that the right would have you believe they are. Jimmy from Philly says, tell Oz to get some LSD. Boob Boy says, tax cuts did help working people. Make America great again. Dems are a joke. Hope it was worth $2 to you. Indini Jarvu sends a $1 super chat. T-Class Official says, sorry we broke off. Thanks and hope to talk again. Yeah, I don't know. We just seem to have lost you. That was weird. Let's go next to our caller from... Where do we want to go next? What about the 612 area code? 612 has been holding for a long time. What's going on, 612?
Hey, David. This is Alex. I'm calling from Minnesota. How are you?
Hey, Alex. Good. How are you?
Good. Just a quick question. So how does since the formal impeachment process has kind of started now, how does it kind of vary from a practical standpoint from the previous investigations that were going on, the Russia-related ones, that is?
Well, this is just that was a special counsel investigation. This is an impeachment inquiry. And remember that this is just the inquiry. This is not the process of arguing for impeachment subsequently to be voted on by the Senate. This is just the inquiry. That's all we've got so far.
Yeah, absolutely. But more specifically, does beginning the formal impeachment process grant the House any additional investigative powers?
You know, to the extent that they have subpoena powers already, I don't believe, or at least I've not read, that starting what a formal impeachment inquiry grants them more powers, although hopefully it would make those who were subpoenaed, both for documents or their testimony, less willing to ignore the subpoenas, if that makes sense. But I'm not aware of any special powers that the House gets.
Right. I wasn't just sure if it was, codified anywhere that it actually, granted them anything else.
Yeah, I don't believe it does.
Otherwise... only other question would be, do you like beer?
Yes, I do. I prefer microbrews, white ales, and Belgian-style beers.
Anything in particular?
I don't know. I mean, my go-to when I don't know what's going on is Allagash White.
All right. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. I hope I didn't filibuster you there. I just cut right to the chase. Let me say thanks to Karen Lee Johnston, who has just signed up on my website, as well as Aaron Richlin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. and Jennifer Stewart. 3 more members, which gets us to 35 for the evening. I think our record right now is 44. We had that last 2 weeks ago during the Democratic debate live stream. Andrew Hollis is asking via Super Chat whether I plan to speak with Sam Harris again. No specific plan right now, but certainly open to it. Let's go next to, our caller from the 360 area code. We get a lot of calls from 360, but I never remember where it's from. Where is 360 from?
It's from Washington.
Oh, all right. What's going on? Who's this?
This is Nathan.
Hey, Nathan. What's up?
I was just wondering, how do they do these polls? Who regulates them? Where do they come from? Are they reliable?
Like which one? What's an example?
The list that you showed earlier of all the different polling places.
Yep. So you just click them and you can see. I mean, let's just take a look at, this latest one that's from Emerson. If you click on it, usually somewhere on the page, and I'm doing this right now, you will see, so Emerson is the place that did it, first of all, and they'll tell you the methodology. So this one was done during a 3-day period. It was done under the supervision of a particular assistant professor. It was a sample of only registered voters, 1,019 of them. They have a credibility interval that they use, which is similar to a margin of error, which it tells you. It tells you that they've weighted the data by ethnicity, age, mode, gender, and region based on turnout modeling from 2016, right? So you can look at each of these, and then it says this was collected using an interactive voice response system of landlines and an online panel provided by Amazon Turk. So that's this particular poll. And you can just look at each of them and look at what the methodology was.
Is there any government regulation on them or interaction with the government?
I don't know whether you, as a pollster, have to be registered with the government in some way. I don't believe you do. I think it's more a matter of, if Breitbart does a poll versus if Morning Consult does one, maybe we trust one more than the other on the basis of partisanship. But I'm not aware of any government regulation per se.
Yeah, like Fox News, it'd be really hard to trust that one.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at what it says as far. Let's pull up the Fox News one and see what they say about methodology. So Fox says a random national sample of 1,008 registered voters. It was heavily weighted to cell phones versus landlines, and they used a probability proportionate to size method, which means phone numbers for each state are proportional to the number of voters in each state. So, I mean, listen, it's not necessarily a bad poll. I mean, I've reason to believe Rasmussen tends to be more skewed than the Fox News polls, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'll go on and look at that. I appreciate your getting these live streams out. I try and catch them every time. Thank you, David.
My pleasure, Nathan. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Let me say thanks to Ryan Breaker, who has also signed up on my website and is new member number 36 of the evening. Appreciate that. A couple other super chats to deal with here. Let's see. Sophia asks, hey, David, sorry if you already talked about this and I missed it. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the China and Russia soy import deal. I've not talked about that, and I don't know enough about it to comment, but I will research it. Dolores Tapia with a $10 super chat. Thank you. Dusty Dark Horse says, if you ever get the chance, try Street Fight, a red ale made right here in Montana. I tend not to like red ales, but I'm willing to try it. Benjamin Glatt says, I missed your response to the abortion caller, but I want to point out you can't take organs from a body without prior permission. Okay. Yosefka says, David, what's the point of impeachment if no Republicans will go along with it? Doesn't this hurt us in 2020? It may hurt, but the idea would be that this gets out the wrongdoing of Trump in a way that helps Democrats in 2020. At least that's the gist. Nizzy K sent a 400 I don't know what HUF is. What currency is HUF? 400 HUF to USD. Hungarian forints. It's $1.32. Okay. 617 area code, please answer. Let's see if I find 617 here. I don't know how you're calling from 617 if you're international, but let's see. 617. Yeah, I don't see anybody from 617, unfortunately. So I'm not able to go to that. Alex Billings says, if anyone isn't pro-choice, I encourage you to watch Philosophy Tube on the issue. Philosophy Tube is really good, and I interviewed him last week. Beta Ray Tasty says there are many simple misconceptions about single-payer healthcare that take me 15 seconds to clear up. If they're so simple, why don't they go away? Because the right needs them to keep single-payer from becoming a reality. Jai Nelson says, just wanted to send a little support. I noticed your videos being phased out in my YouTube algorithm. It's not just you, Jai. It is a lot of people experiencing that. Sukulio, which area of Boston are you from, David? I realize you're a fellow Bostonian. I work at Tufts Medical, if you've heard of it. Yes, I'm actually not from Boston. I'm from Argentina, but now based in Boston. Trey Martinetz says, our family courts are broken. No money for basic rights. That is a major, major problem. No doubt about it. Let's go next to our caller from the 972 area code who has been holding for 45 minutes. I appreciate your persistence, 972.
Hello?
Yes, that is you.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, David. Hey, how are you doing there, David? My name's
Good.
Sebastian Delgadillo. I'm from Texas.
You said your name is Ashton?
Sebastian.
Sebastian. I've got a cousin named Sebastian. Lovely name.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyways, my question was to you quickly, David, was that if you somehow got the ability to make a law tomorrow to be passed and to be official law, what would you do? What would if you had the ability to?
When you say a law, what do you include? Like, could I say, I would just make single payer healthcare the law?
Well, I guess like broad strokes. I mean, what type of change would you try to initiate? Would you try to make permanent in the country right now? Anyway?
I would try to pass a law that would pierce the corporatocracy, lobbyist, money controls politics, industrial complex. I would try to do something related to that.
You think it's the lobbyists that's a big issue with that, or it's just the money going between them?
It's a lot of different things. That's why I'd have to think about what one law would most effectively start to pierce that. But it would be something to work on that issue.
Oh, okay. All right. That's what I was just wondering. Oh, and do you know, since you actually work on different forms of media, radio, TV, and YouTube as well,
yeah.
Why do you think that YouTube is so focused on trying to become a television station when it seems like the reason why people are going to YouTube is to get away from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just they've calculated that this is the business model that they want to be pushing, period. And, it's clearly making YouTube something very different than what it was at the beginning. And it's sad and it hurts shows like mine. But alas, it's their business decision to make if they want to make it, for sure.
Okay. I was just wondering what's your take on that since you did it. And offhand question, what hair product do you use, man? Your hair always looks good.
I use, it's called American Crew Fiber, I believe is the name of it.
All right, man.
Yeah, it's not the cheapest stuff, but it's solid. It's what I'm with. I've been with them for a decade. They've never sponsored anything, although they should, quite frankly. And it's an excellent product.
Get that David Pakman seal of approval on it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks for the call. Very much appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, take care. Michael Blasius says, what are your thoughts on genetics and IQ? I have numerous long-form videos about that. Aaron Reichland says, kudos for saying my name correctly. No one does. I think I might have just mispronounced it the second time. Sabrina Zafar says, I know it's unpredictable, but how would a successful impeachment affect 2020? Well, a successful impeachment would make the winner of the 2020 election whoever wins the Democratic nomination. That's the big picture of it. Exactly what constitutes successful impeachment depends on who you talk to, but removal of Trump is not going to happen in my view. Let me say welcome and thank you to Melissa Heafy, who is new member number 37 of the evening. And on that note, that's going to wrap tonight's live stream. Sorry to everybody I wasn't able to get to, but I'm committing to do another live stream tomorrow night. It'll be on Twitch. twitch.tv/David Pakman. Follow me on Twitch. Subscribe with Twitch Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, it'll cost you nothing. And I'll see you tomorrow night on Twitch for another live stream.